Silveira. That's tough saying in English. Alberto Silveira, I'm just gonna go with the Portuguese. Head of Engineering at LawnStarter and author of the book, Building and Managing High Performance Distributed Teams. Round for Alberto. All right. Also, Bruno Brüggemann, Head of Mobile Engineering at TimeHop. Willy Husted, Engineering Manager at Try Your Best. And our mediator, Aline Araújo, who's a tech recruiter lead at Ubiminds too. All right, welcome guys, and take it away.
Thank you, Danny. Is this on? It's on? Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you all for being here. I'm going to start saying that I'm so happy to be here with you today to discuss something that I'm really passionate about, that is talent acquisition and recruiting process, and to have this amazing guy sitting here by my side discussing that. So we already talked about in the last panel about how the bar is high, and I mean we have a lots of competition in the market, which means that we need to be prepared strongly for that. So now we're going to talk about a little bit more about the best practices for recruiting processes. Our guests will help us to understand what they usually evaluate and provide some tips for you to be better prepared for these processes. So I'm going to start with Alberto and ask you some questions. You have hired a lot of people, have done lots of talks for tech leads in the market, preparing them to build the high-performance teams. So starting from the basics, Alberto, is there any difference in recruiting process between North and South America?
Great question. Well, good evening. Boa noite. There are certainly differences between interviewing company to company, region to region, state to state. So if you're trying to find any pattern, it's going to be a quite challenging job. So I think when you're interviewing, one of the things that I would definitely recommend is trying to understand the company that you're interviewing, the culture of the company that you're interviewing, and you're going to realize that there's a lot of similarities, but there's also some challenge, some differences that you should be aware. So I like to say, Aline, and probably you heard this a zillion times from me, preparation is key. So for any interview, if you are doing here in your home country, or you're actually doing your first interview for like any other company overseas, the main thing is to really look ahead of, from the job description, who is working, who you are talking to, and I think that's what's going to make you successful. Not only passing the interview, that's just part of the fun of getting a new job, the fun part, but also I think just trying to you selecting, I think before, like in the previous panel, like it's a both way, like as any other relationship, getting a job, and you also have to interview the company. I think that's 1000% accurate, and I think like South America, I don't know, it's been a long time that I don't interview here in Brazil, but I think it's universal, Aline. I think it's the challenge that people find here. It's not different than the challenge that we find in US as well.
Awesome. And could you describe a little bit more about the best practices that you apply on your process, and also people first companies used to apply?
My favorite, yeah. I definitely, even though I love computers, I love engineering, automation, automate almost everything. I don't hire bots. I hire humans. So yeah, absolutely. I think best practices is, I love the idea of like continuous improvement and the baby steps continuous improvement. If you read or check my book, that's what I talk a lot, like every other page. But it's as far as like processes and best practices, I really expect is like the energy. It's like the energy that you talk with people, right? It's okay to be nervous. It's okay to be, but it's like how much energy you're and how much concentration, how much you're dedicating for having that conversation. Many times it's like just a couple of hours, like an interview process. How can you actually, in a couple of hours, decide if you wanna get that job or if you're gonna actually do well? So I think as far as process as I do at LawnStarter, and I've done like in a couple of previous jobs, is who here have heard about like the who process? 1, 2. It's the main thing about it's called like you can check online. It's like thewhobook.com. It's a book, and the process is just like hire people based on who they are versus what they can show off in an interview. If you have to read a cracking the code interview book to pass in an interview, that's not what I expect. So that's like not the process that I like to follow. I like to follow like a very humanized interview process. People to people. Like as an interviewer, I'm in a privileged position. I know what I'm gonna ask. And if I wanna ask you questions that you won't be able to answer, I probably can do that. But you also can do that with me, so what's the point? Right? So that's not a good process, in my opinion. The process, I like to make a fair process and very humanized. A process, I actually was talking with Caitlin just before this session and earlier today, before the capybara story, and actually after the capybara story. And I mentioned like this whole idea. I like candidates to feel like I invite them to my own house. They need to feel comfortable. If candidates are not comfortable during the interview, I'm not doing a good job as an interviewer, because they are not giving the best version of themselves. So, is that a process? Yeah, how about make people feel comfortable so they can actually be as in any regular day after they get the job. So I try to make the first impression, if the first impression matters, I really care about that. I want to give like a good experience, regardless if I decide to hire or not that person. The experience for that candidate, I treat it's super important for me. So I leverage like techniques as the Who book. The technical interview, how about this? I hated when I was an engineer I did computer science here in Floripa. It's been 20 years that I've been in America. I would say this. The code interviews always challenged me. Write a code on the whiteboard and we're gonna figure out like the verse, like a string, or like write the palindrome algorithm in like, oh my goodness, that was so challenging. I don't do that. I have the no surprise policy. What does that mean? Everything that I'm gonna actually prepare you for my interview at LawnStarter. By the way, we are hiring. So, is it allowed? And I think that is one thing that is, I say, bring your own code. Any piece of code that you are proud, that you're not proud, that you like or you don't like. Any open source code that maybe that's in GitHub, like that is our technical interview. Why? Because it's a code that you talk about. So now here's what I'm looking for. We're gonna be talking about that code. Tell me why you brought that code. Oh, that was the code that I actually had during college. Amazing. What do you like about it? Oh, I don't like anything. Why? Well, I didn't know how to write actual tests. I don't know I didn't know how to test my own code. I said, okay, that's good. How would you go these days? How will you do separation of concerns of your code? That is the process that I like to. It's like no polish, very humanized, and I like to talk about practices and things that I want to hear, that I want to see in a good developer, in something that they can bring their own. So it's like the bring your own code for the interview. Have you ever actually went to like an interview process for like a developer where you can bring in your own code and that's going to be your technical interview? I don't think that's common, but Alberto does, and I guarantee you it works.
Awesome, awesome. So, Willy, I would like to understand a little bit more about the kind of process that you have at Try Your Best. I know you have a very straightforward process. When I mean candidates, sometimes they do just one interview round and they get hired. So, what can you tell us about behavior that you look for in an interview, and also why you do a process like that over there?
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me, first of all. That makes it sound like anybody with a heartbeat can get a job at TYB, which is, I assure you, not the case. But so why we do it? TYB is a very young company, just a couple years old. The business is moving really quickly. We need to move quickly. That means the product needs to move quickly. And that ratchets all the way down to my job, which is hiring people quickly. Obviously, we want the best people that we can get. Ubiminds does a very good job of getting those people in front of us. The thing we don't want to do is waste our time, and we don't want to waste your time either. So, we get to yeses quickly, as you mentioned, but we get to no's quickly as well. And there's a lot that goes into that. The things that I look for in a candidate are three things. One is curiosity, enthusiasm, and experience or expertise. I actually grade candidates on this in a sense. At the end of an interview, I'll go through and kind of put a score to those things. And I'll go through each of those really quickly. But curiosity is, are you ambitious? Do you have an appetite to learn, to improve upon yourself? I think, as Caitlin mentioned on the last panel, everybody who is interested in getting an international job, everyone who's interested in getting a job not in their native language, already fits that bill pretty nicely. You have to be curious. You have to be ambitious in that sense. You want to develop yourself. You want to develop your career. Part of curiosity is there's humility in being curious. It means you don't know everything. You have not a large ego coming into an interview. So that's one piece that we look for. Enthusiasm is the other one. A bit more straightforward. That's the energy that you're going to bring to the interview, and obviously we're assuming the energy you're going to bring to your job. That's kind of the point of an interview. That is, so both of those things are obviously soft skills. There's not I put a number to those things, but it's very subjective at the end of those interviews. Energy and enthusiasm itself is not, are you just high energy, or you can have a chaotic energy in an interview that's not great. You can be very relaxed and confident, and that's good. You can be relaxed and asleep, and that's bad. So there's it's spongy, but I try and use my best judgment there. The third piece is experience and expertise, and we rely really heavily on Ubiminds to do a lot of that legwork for us. That piece is a lot more objective. It's, do you have the credentials? Do you have the right resume? Do you have these black and white things that we are looking for? And that makes it a little bit more easier to put a score on. Of those three things, you want 10 out of 10s on all three of those things, ideally. Of course, that doesn't always happen. It rarely happens. One can make up for the other. So to that point, I would say rely on your strengths, know what your strengths are, know what your weaknesses are, and try and accentuate your strengths even when you're asked something that might be in a weakness category. So that's our process.
Amazing, amazing. And Bruno, I mean, what can you tell us about the process that you have? How challenging is it to find someone that has the right fit?
Yeah, first of all, good evening, everyone. Boa noite. At TimeHop, the challenge is always, I mean, as any interview is that you have just a few hours with that person, and you need to meet each other, understand if has all the expertise that you're looking for, if has all the cultural fit, if has, you need to think about collaboration, how is the English, can this person formulate a phrase, put an idea, organize his ideas. So you have just a few hours, and the person is very nervous most of the time. And you need, as Alberto said, you need to break that. You need relax, let's talk, see how it goes. So what Willy said is also something that we look a lot. It's collaboration, is curiosity, I asked something, oh, I don't know that, but can you talk a little bit about? He's asking me, want to learn how teachable this person is. Does he like to learn? So we start talking about a little bit of code. I show a few things. He asked a few things. This is the kind of interaction that I like to see, the person asking things for me. I like to talk a lot, not a lot, but a little bit about the process. What do you do today? How's your process? So I can understand how this person collaborates with the team. How is this person a team member? Does he work as a team member, or is like to work alone? So we are not looking for anyone that likes to work alone. We want you to be part of the team. So this is very challenging if you think that you have maybe 2 sessions of 1 hour each, and we try our best.
It's a good name.
But it's very challenging, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And now a question for all of you. What makes you say no to a candidate? I mean, what are the absolute deal breakers?
I already said one for me. For me, definitely, if the person doesn't know how to operate on a team, as a team member, it will not work. It could be the best expertise, the best candidate, if you think about all the knowledge. But if he doesn't know how to collaborate with the rest of the team, it will not work.
I think Willy said that a lot better than me. I think you're like more politically correct. You said enthusiasm. I say I don't want Walking Deads. I will adopt your
Trying to
way.
be positive.
Yes,
Try your best.
yes. But I think like jokes aside is the energy. We're like a startup. We are growing quickly. We are building like a platform to be the largest outdoor platform in the world. I think Brandy, our friend and CTO from Giphy, mentioned like being in New York or being like big tech centers, you're competing with Google, hedge funds, and I need people that is smart, motivated, that's willing to win. I want people that want to win. I'm not competitive, but I love winning, and I need people that think like that, and that is not just like a regular job, 8 to 5. We're super flexible in time, and you need to take your kid in the bus stop, or like you need, fine. But I ask for honesty, transparency, over-communicating. Don't try to hide. Everyone we know, like it's just like a matter of that's not nice. We are professionals. We are like adults. So for me, no is lack of energy, transparency, and you can tell that during a couple of conversations. We all can tell when someone's not being honest. So that is a big no for me. I rather get someone that don't know, that is willing to learn, than someone that's pretending. So that is like, for me, is it's so simple. Technical piece, unless you're like, you know, like completely opposite direction, it's not the deal breaker. I think if you're willing to learn and like willing to collaborate and ask and being honest and transparent, yeah, I think that's my shortly. Am I asking too much?
No, I don't think so.
Thank you, Willy.
Yeah, I think the overarching thing that is a deal breaker for us at TYB is poor communication. The flip side of that, obviously, is good communication. Be a good communicator. To again keep this positive. Good communication is what allows you to show those things that we're looking for. So, if you love to learn about something, you want to learn a new technology, you're curious in some area, but you can't adequately communicate to me in a very short amount of time, like Bruno was saying, that's the case, then I don't know. So, you know, communication is sort of a first step towards everything else that you're trying to show in an interview, and it's a part of every single other thing that we are looking for. It's a necessary first step. You can't be a good collaborator without good communication. You know, you can't do anything without really good communication. Someone who, you know, to be more specific, someone who can't communicate in English, it makes it very hard. So, you know, your English has to be good enough. Your English has to be good enough to communicate. Your communication has to be good enough to show that you have curiosity, enthusiasm, experience. You know, so there's kind of dominoes to this, and it's worth practicing something like English to be good enough, not fluent, but good enough to allow you to be all those other things. So, learn English.
Willy, I sometimes speak with my hands. I cannot hear because I'm holding the mic, but I would just add, like, the communication, English, super important. But there's synchronous communication, there's async communication. Like, you have to write a lot, you have to write documentation, you have to write properly in Slack, whatever, like, and communication is not only about the language. Communication, human communication. You have to expect, I mean, I speak half Portuguese, like it's broken, the English is broken, so like combined I have maybe one language. But it's like, I just want to emphasize and build on like what Willy said, like communication is key, 1000%, but there are so many ways for you to communicate. And then combined, you should be able to convey what you are trying to say with clarity. That's what I understand as good communication. Does that align, Willy?
It does.
Good. I try my best.
I know that we, in the other panel, had some tips for candidates that were participating in other international process. But we know that being interviewed, it's not an easy thing to do. I mean, do you have any tips for candidates that are being part of international process?
I was first before, so.
I can. As I said, I think the most important things that you need to show them is communication for sure. You need to talk, but that's, for me, is a requirement. I mean, you need at least to organize your ideas and know how to express that in a way that they can understand you. So there is a minimum that's required. It's not too much. Don't think that you need to be completely fluent. I'm not. And but this is the minimum. But all the rest of the things is everything that we said, try to show that you did the research, you understand what the company does, you like that idea, you want to be part of the team, you want to be a team member, you want to put your ideas, give suggestions, help people, out collaboration, be, how can I say, eager to learn things, be fine. Oh, do you want to learn something new? Yes, I am. I want to learn, I want to do that, I want to try. So this is the kind of attitude that we are looking for. So try to show that. Try, if they ask something that you don't know, ask them, okay, sorry, can you explain that to me? That's fine. Then they will say something for you. Maybe you say, oh, sorry, I was nervous, I forgot about that. I know, I worked with that, and then I did this, and this. So show, try to ask things. Don't be just listening.
I like to say that repetition is key, but I think like the tip that that I would give to for those that are like that want the international career. I can speak for my own experience. It's not easy. It doesn't happen overnight. It requires commitment, dedication, and have you ever succeed without practicing anything? Sports and life? No. So you have to try, practice. And then when you fail, take it as an opportunity to see why I didn't pass in that interview. That might not even be because of you, might be based because that wasn't the right company. That's okay. Learn from that. Try again. Fail? Try again. If you really want, you will win.
A good practice, you just said, I just remember, one good practice that I see sometimes happening, and I love when it happens, is after the interview, we reject the person. I mean, there was no fit or something technical, I don't know, any reason. And the person come to us and say, hey, can you give me some feedback, what I could do better, why did it not work? And I'm more than happy to give all that.
I like the person already. Can you refer that to me?
There was a guy at Schoolage that we hired because of this. We decided for another one, and after we did the offer for him.
I like that.
Yeah, agree with all that. I was going to say prepare and practice, prepare, practice, and ask for feedback. But the ask for feedback doesn't have the same flow as prepare and practice. Prepare for an interview specifically for that company, not just interviewing in general, but for that company. And do your research, do all these things to show interest in that company, to show that you have prepared, not just for interviewing, not just for getting a job, but for this company that is interviewing you. If you're mildly interested in them, act like you're very interested. And if they say no, then no harm, no foul. If they want you, you're still in the position to say, never mind, I just did good research and I'm good at interviewing. The practice aspect is to think of interviewing as practice and not as a life or death thing. This is something that you are trying to improve upon. It's a skill that you're trying to get better at. You only need one job. You might interview 10 times. If one person says yes, you're good. So practice over and over again. You will get better at it. It's the only way to get better at it, at anything. And prepare for the next one.
Excellent.
And repeat.
And ask for feedback
pass.
and repeat.
Yes. So, I mean, this is so excellent tips for candidates, and I'm so happy to have the opportunity to share this with other candidates that are looking for an opportunity in an international company. So I think that we're approaching the end, but Danny's here with questions, I guess.
Yes. I wasn't quite ready, but I'll be soon. Before we get online, any questions from the audience right here? All right. Yeah? All right.
Hey, good evening. I will be on my feet here so you guys can see me. My question here is about the communication. You guys said a lot. And I think that speaking closely to software engineers or software developers, we see on the past this model that we have this guy who work a lot or study a lot and have this code dictionary in your mind and don't have any soft skills. So I think Bruno said about that. Very good name, I'm Bruno too. That the guy who don't work as a team, and he can be a very skilled person, but his soft skills is not very good. And in the past, I saw this model as engineer that the guy in the bedroom and work a lot and have this mind big. So what do you guys think about that today? I think the soft skills is more important sometimes than the hard skills sometimes in the moment or the scenario. So you guys agree with me? I think that is changing a little bit. So how you guys see that?
You want to have a Bruno to Bruno conversation?
Please, be welcome.
Yeah, for me, soft skills definitely are. I put more value on that. Is what for me brings me closer to a decision to hire that person. Definitely, as we said, it's important that the person knows a little bit, have some expertise. But if the person can learn, that's fine. I mean, the important is all the communication, all these things. And you said something about communication too. One thing to get used to as a tip, because you don't need to, even today, sometimes when I'm not talking about technical things, my English is not good. But when I'm talking about technical, I can talk anything. But that you can learn with podcasts, things about technology. If you start listening people talking about tech in English, you're gonna get better, you're gonna get the dictionary, you're gonna be more prepared to communicate better. So this is a good way also to improve your skills without paying anything. Podcasts are free. So it's a good beginning for sure.
Bruno, great question, Bruno. Let's step back just for a second. Like, forget like soft skill, hard skills. Any company, in order to survive, needs to be a sustainable business. In order for a sustainable business, in order to create or to form a sustainable business, you need people. And you need people, doesn't matter if it's a technology company, all the technology companies like out there, the biggest and most important asset of any organization is people. One may not agree with me. I don't know who is that, but I will call that crazy. And people need to communicate. I think it was a time that there was like this idea that like engineers, I work like in the basement. I have like long hair, like in city and like doing all that kind of stuff. If you're not collaborating with your product managers, with your designers, if you're not understanding, I love hiring people that align with the mission of the product that I'm building. I'm not hiring a developer to stay like, or like anyone in product engineering for staying like 3 months, 6 months. Like, I want people that love and have the passion for the product that we are building. And what do you need for that? You need to collaborate and talk with others. Have conversation. It's just like, hey, option A, option B, there's many paths to achieve a solution. How are we going to be doing that without communication? So I'm very data-driven, business-driven, reality. I think writing code and software, without the customers in mind, without wearing being the customer, I think we are missing the point. So I think the idea of like having a developer or like having anyone on the corner work in isolation, that's a dated concept. I think that companies that do that, they have their time. So that's my opinion. Bruno?
Agree. Definitely, it's something, if you think in the past, could happen many times. Small companies, 2 people working. But today, if you think that you have, I don't know, 3, 4 departments that need to communicate every day, you need to communicate. You need You need to talk about release. You need to talk about design decisions. You need to talk about issues that we are having. You need to talk about client requests. So all the things that are happening, you need to be all the time talking to other people that are not from your team. So it's the way that it is. You need to communicate.
Just really quickly in defense of the weird guys in the basement. Those guys were awesome.
They are.
And I would hire a couple of those for sure.
Should we be in the basement?
In Brazil, we don't have basements, though.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
There we go.
Okay.
But I get the
Addicts.
point.
But my more serious point is, I have this framework for hiring folks and what we're looking for, but it's it's designed to not create a homogenous team. We don't want everybody who is exactly the same. We want a diverse group of people, and we want people who know what they're good at and execute on what they're good at. And some people are far better communicators and not very good technically, and some people are very good technically to the point where in an interview, I'm thinking, I'm not having the most fun in this interview right now, but I would be an idiot to pass on this person, and I want them on my team so that they're not on someone else's team. So it's all about bringing to the table what you have. And first step in that is knowing what you have.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
One thing, just to complete here pretty quick. I have a guy in my team. When we talk about communication, I don't think that you need to be always talking or be active talking. It's more that I have a guy that's shy on my team. He's very shy. But whenever he has a question, he raises the hand and say the question. If something is not working, things going to get delayed, he raised the flag. So that's the communication that we were talking about. We are not talking about you go there and make a tech talk every week or be on the aisles talking to everyone on, no, it's not that kind
Sit in a panel.
Yes, sitting on a panel. No, is that not that kind. It's more work, things that needs to be communicated every day.
Mm-hmm. Nice. This next question actually has a little bit to do with that. So working collaboration, being really close, fostering that environment. How is that with people from different cultures? Is that something that plays a part, and how do you encourage that? How do you foster that environment even with people from all over?
That's fun. I remember when I started that everyone was kind of like from the same neighborhood, like we all agree. I mean, besides like the local soccer team, that there was always like A or B, but I think the words become more and more diverse. We are removing the walls between regions and countries. Here we are. I think Randy mentioned that that like diversity create better products. This is like the true meaning of globalization. You hire the best talent regardless where they are. And that is so exciting. So I don't know Bruno and Willy, but it's I love the idea of and even saying out like the self-awareness of like different cultures, learning about different places. Food, I love food. So like, at work we don't talk only about work, we talk about like different stuff. And I've been learning, even how American football, I'm not sure if you have like any fans here, but do we have like the Austin college football? I've been actually in some of those games, and then we are talking about like things that I never thought in life that I would. And that's diversity, and guess what? That provides the synergy and on those humans, and we work better in that way. So, and honestly, it's less boring. Like having people from different areas and different like perspectives and different ideas. I love those debates and those conversations. There's always something good out of those.
So at TYB, super young company. We started at the beginning of 2021. Everybody was remote at that point. the founders didn't live in the same place. We still don't have an office. We likely will never have an office. So even in our American employees, we had West Coast, Texas, East Coast, and we have one guy still who week to week I don't know where he is. He's fine. He's safe. He's somewhere good, but it's Hawaii or Colombia or Barcelona, or I mean, it's all over the place. So I think two things about that make TYB in particular great is that we had to, from the ground up, have this distributed team, have this diverse team. You know, maybe not the most diverse. We're all Americans, but we're West Coast, East Coast, et cetera. The engineering team is entirely international. So, and the entire engineering team is about 50% of the company. So there's not really a sense of, you know, how do the Brazilians and the international people work with us? It's how do we work with them, because this is basically their company. They're making the entire product. It is far more fun. It is way less boring. We were just joking a couple days ago that depending on how well Brazil does in the World Cup, directly impacts our timeline on delivery of things. So, you know, that's right. So that's something I have to communicate out and say, you know, we have a meeting at this time, but Brazil's playing right then. There's no one who's going to come. This is more important than their jobs. You don't understand. So yeah, it's more fun. It's much more fun.
Yeah. It seems to me also that it needs to be a match with the candidate. They need to know the environment. They need to know that that's something that you foster. And that goes back to preparation, knowing what kind of company they're interviewing for, knowing the culture, knowing that that's a good fit. I forgot something to mention before. You were talking about preparation, and at Ubiminds we do that. So whenever before the candidates are going to meet the company, we help them prep, help them research. I think Aline can talk a little bit more about that too, right, Aline?
Thank you. So we usually, like I said, interviewing process, it's very stressful for the candidates. And sometimes they get so nervous that they just don't know what to say or how to say the things they accomplished during their careers. So one thing that we have, it's like a cheat sheet to help them to be more prepared and well-structured their storytelling regarding their accomplishment and also tech skills, and help them to be more comfortable with that environment, providing information regarding who is going to be interviewing them, more details about company, and also encourage them to bring questions and be on the position that we mentioned before, that it's be interviewing with the company as well. So this is something that we notice it's very helpful for the candidates, and because they are doing this before the interview, they sometimes brings us questions that they would not feel comfortable to do during the interview with the clients, and then we can help them to better structure that, and they go more well prepared and more feeling more confident for that interview.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
I love those preparations. Aline and I, we talked several times. She finds like great candidates for LawnStarter, and I love that. So thank you, Aline. On the tips, can I give one more?
Of course.
You don't need to read anything to like an interview. Just make like a natural conversation. Many times I just like, oh, like, so tell me like what you're doing in this job, and then it's just like no. It's okay, like you don't need to read, but you don't need to memorize. Like just be yourself. You're gonna be fine. And I will make one final comment about the diverse. Can we agree that in any relationship, the more the sides know about each other, the better the relationship is gonna be? Mm-hmm. So that is from the interviewing, and the interview is just the beginning of like a journey. So, and as a hiring manager, I will ask you all a favor. Just don't start a job and leave 3, 4, 6 months later. You're not doing any favor. You're just, it's better that you don't say no like to the offer. And And I think like as far as like the diversity is like there's a lot of conversations about that, but I think we all lack a little bit, or let me be positive, Willy. Thanks for the observation. We have the opportunity to improve our interview processes. We have the opportunity to know ourselves better, so we can then join those companies that will make sense for us, right? Just like this, there's like this thing in the community that is, like every other year, like engineers just keep jumping jobs to jobs. Maybe it's fine early in the career, you have to test the waters, but find something that you love, not only from the technical point of view. That will help not only you, the company, but also like the whole industry. And I think we need a little bit of that.
Just completing everything that you said, I thought about two things. One you said is if people that join the company and leave after 6 months, that when I see the resume, the first thing that I look is the time that people look.
That's a nice tip, yeah. If you see like jumping.
I will talk to the people. It's not a strong no. I try to understand what's going on, why he left the company.
I didn't say that's a strong no, but...
no, it's not as strong, but it's just
why you don't zip?
I raise a flag for me, because why he's jumping company to company? And I try to understand. Sometimes the people say, no, it's just the same company. They change the names, things like that. So I'll fine with that. Mm-hmm. And the second thing that you said that I just forgot.
It sounds great.
I'm not going to say that it was a lie just because I forgot, so we'll just keep on that. So I'm afraid that that's the time. We have one last question, but I'm actually going to save that one for the next panel, which is asking a little bit about portfolio. So how are the skills judged from the candidate? Is a portfolio useful? But we're going to talk a little bit about that on the next panel. Yes. Okay. Did you have a question? Yeah, sure. Okay. Oh, Mike. Okay, so let's take one more, and then we'll take a quick break, and I'm happy to have questions and then connect to people later. I think he was actually over here, right? Ooh. Yep. Over here, right in the front, right here. Yep.
I'm so eager to ask a question to the audience as well. What's the guess for the game tomorrow? But no, we'll ask it later.
Okay. There we go.
Hi, I would like to ask you about how do you think the recruiting process that you make impact the life of the candidates, and how do you think that the process make him grow as a person, as a candidate, as a professional? Made myself clear?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I just said yes. I think, as you said, if you get a no in an interview, don't give up. Practice. Try again. One of the things that I said, send a mail, ask for feedback. This is the way that you can improve. You can understand, okay, what was the problem? Was communication? Was my skill set? What did I say that make that not happen? So, for my opinion, I try to make it that, as Alberto said, most humanized as possible. Be friendly, have empathy with the person. Understand that he's nervous. If it's Brazilian or not American, there is a language barrier that makes things even harder. So, from my point of view, we need to understand that when talking to the person, to break the wall, break the ice, and make the conversation more soft, easy.
I would say this. I'm more than happy to touch base and answer this question for you later. But I think the feedback piece is like is the key. And I hate those companies that actually send that generic feedback. That's not the feedback that I'm talking about. It has to be a feedback that will make you as a candidate better. I try to respect every single person that interviews at LawnStarter, and even they don't get the job today, you will never know about tomorrow. And it happens several times that people will come back because we invest the time. It's not spend the time. We invest the time to provide proper feedback for every single candidate so they can do better next time. But I can talk more offline with you. I know that we're at the time.
Yes,
So.
I'm afraid we are. And we have so many great questions here coming online. This is great material for us to understand what you want to know so that we can work on preparing you on posting and on our blog, on our LinkedIn, things that will help you during this process. So thank you so much for all your collaboration with this. Thank you to our panel. Around, please. Yeah. So we're going to take one of those breaks, 5 minutes, and then we'll be back for our last panel. All right?